Have you ever felt stressed under the circumstance of being by yourself in a quiet environment, such as a library? Well, if you had experienced it in a public place, that can ultimately lead you to lose your focus in studying and learning a new topic. We all want an accessible environment where we can easily obtain knowledge and look back in reference to our life's history's works. And so, this is why I ultimately believe we should have a no noise policy in all public libraries. And this can bring the importance of having a better knowledge of a better way of learning new knowledge under the manner of a less stress and quiet manner. And this can potentially raise your social conversational skills and also your hierarchy of self-esteem. And so I like to refer back to the introduction of the no noise policy back when history of the first libraries were created. So first libraries were created to hide classified documents on secretive groups for advantages of a certain country, particularly for wars back in our history. And that secretive information were to kept quiet and no noise or no recognition of that matter in the public eye. And that transferred to public libraries to this day. However, looking at modern day today, our public libraries obtain accessible information that isn't classified and is brought through a community standard to be shared across valuable other resources and to be acquired through even more knowledge and understanding for your brain and life's history. And so there is a contradiction between the silence and community, though. You can't have silence and community together because community requires social interactions and activities along with having to share those acknowledgments of new history and new findings and new meanings. And silence prevents that because you are very quiet and it kind of brings no benefit at all whatsoever. And I'll go ahead and regard that in a minute or so. But yeah, looking at today's libraries, public libraries, we hold community events, and there should be such as those that continue on and move forward to bring that conversational matter of expressing new knowledge and acquiring even a better understanding of learning that new topic and form of value. And so the reason I want to refer back to silence bringing no benefit is because it doesn't you don't really express your true emotion when expressing verbally, because when you're speaking quietly, silently, um, silence brings an inaudible silence brings an inaudible effect of you trying to be hard at understanding what the word is intentionally meaning. So speaking out clearly lets you allow you to easily acquire that sense of meaning of what the word is trying to say within the document, and you just bring in more understandability of learning the new acknowledgement of that word. And then also, no silence is that it pretty much allows you to find with the silence that you have, it'll bring anxiety that you might have to finding the resources that you might need. So you can't clearly speak to say what you might actually want to look for. And so looking at dgscholarship.edu, academic stress is related to a student who is under the imposition of stress through academic sources, through high academic demand, who has limited sources and requirement of those academic demands. So in other words, if your anxiety and built up an anxiety of trying to ask for what you need to deliver that high academic demand that is asked from your teacher, you gain more stress of pretty much overheading you all of that demand and less resource and comfortability of acquiring that knowledge, and pretty much just you're in the stress and work environment altogether from that. And so the reasons why silence can bring benefit, but such as it creates less distractions, which is true, you gain more comfortability when interacting with others, and you pretty much just gain from just like that the instance of gravitating towards the conversation and getting to know more and more in line through another person's words or even your own words rather from text on a book. And then, second of all, silence creates a loss of focus in work, like I referred back to, because if it creates and you want to speak out loudly, you don't get lost to where your sense of mind was at when you speak loudly and reform to where you were at the topic of the document. You can pretty much just refer back and stay in focus in line with that new knowledge of regard and information that you're reading from. And you don't lose that focus of work when you're independently by yourself as well, just thinking over and over things of profound informations from those academic demands that was given to you, or even just learning a new topic in general, not knowing from the start, from the end, like where to begin with and how to translate that. It is better to just speak out loud to not get lost in that and to hold up that conversation to gain that motivation of bringing the academic knowledge up to standard. All right, and then pretty much like I said, looking at today, I think we should have no noise policy in all these public libraries because looking back at the whole policy thing, it was introduced through secret reforms and secretive information. But looking at public libraries now, we don't need that sense of form because we're publicly viable to share all of this information and learn more about our life's history. And it brings more social and self-esteem within the individual because you just gain more knowledge of expressing the emotion and verbally communicating through one another the acknowledgement of that resource rather than independently reading by yourself. When you create a stress environment and a quiet environment, which is can lead to unhealthy circumstances. And so I like to refer back to ever getting the question or asked around the dinner table, what have you learned today? Think of it as this regard. Let someone ask you what they are learning, or have them, or have you ask them, or you ask them, you tell them what you're learning. And that brings up the motivation of learning that new topic and acquiring that new knowledge from that sense of manner. And you gain more and more of that interaction and more emphasis of learning new things without stopping and having to forget and stress out of the back of your mind what academic demands you're going to have to go through or need. And so, with that form of interaction, of asking around the dinner table what you learned today, why can't that social interaction also be established in public libraries? If that's what the public libraries are going for is community, why not have social interactions and strict the or get rid of the no noise policy? Yeah, and that's my speech. So thank you very much.